The Last Signal. Admiral Lyra Nixis watched the holographic display with mounting dread as another star dimmed to nothing. The massive observatory deck of the Arcadian Federation's flagship Celestial Dawn offered a panoramic view of the Centauri cluster, where dozens of stars now hung like dead eyes in the void. She pressed her palm against the transparent alloy viewport, her silver-scaled skin reflecting the emergency lights that had become all too common aboard Federation vessels. Admiral, her first officer, Commander Venn, approached with characteristic precision, his crystalline form pulsing with barely contained anxiety. The quantum readings from the Proxima system just came in. It's happening faster now. Nixis didn't need to look at the data. She'd seen the pattern enough times to know what it meant. The entity they dubbed the Stellar Shade was accelerating its consumption of stellar energy. What had begun as an astronomical anomaly in the outer rim had become an extinction-level threat to the entire Arcadian Federation. "How many systems have gone dark?" she asked, though she dreaded the answer. 17 in the past solar cycle alone. The civilian evacuation channels are overwhelmed. Venn's crystalline surface flickered with color patterns that reflected his distress. The Science Council has officially declared this beyond our technological capabilities to address. The admission hit Nixis like a physical blow. The Arcadian Federation had been the predominant civilization in this arm of the galaxy for over 10,000 years. Their mastery of quantum mechanics and stellar engineering had elevated them to heights that younger races viewed as practically magical. And yet here they were, watching helplessly as their stars were devoured one by one. "Show me the latest simulation," she ordered, turning to face the central holographic display. The air shimmed as it projected a real-time model of the entity's expansion. The stellar shade appeared as a web of darkness, connecting dying stars like a cancer spreading through the galaxy. The simulation extrapolated its path forward, and Nixis felt her heart sink. At current speeds, it would reach the Federation's core worlds in less than a stellar cycle. "There's something else," Venn said, his voice modulated carefully. The deep space arrays picked up an unusual energy signature from Sector 47. Nixis frowned. "Sector 47 is quarantined. Has been for generations." "Yes, but these readings." Venn projected a new dataset into the air. "They show energy manipulation patterns we've never seen before. Whatever civilization exists in that sector, they're handling stellar energy in ways that defy our understanding of physics." The Admiral studied the readings, her scientific training warring with decades of military doctrine. Sector 47 had been sealed off by their ancestors for good reasons. The preliminary surveys had detected a young species with dangerous potential, beings who had evolved under harsh stellar radiation and developed unprecedented biological adaptations as a result. "Pull up the original quarantine reports," she ordered. The ship's AI complied instantly, filling the air with ancient text and observations. Nixis scanned them quickly, focusing on the biological data. What she saw made her scales ripple with excitement and fear. The species, designated as human, had evolved on a planet bombarded by intense solar radiation. Instead of dying out, they had developed cellular structures that could absorb and process stellar energy in ways the Federation's scientists had deemed impossible. The reports recommended immediate quarantine, fearing that such beings, if allowed to advance technologically, could pose an existential threat to the established order of the galaxy. "The latest scans indicate they've achieved spacefaring status," Venn reported. "Their energy manipulation capabilities have grown exponentially. They're not just surviving their star's radiation, they're harnessing it." Nixis turned back to the viewport, watching another star flicker in its death throes. The Arcadian Federation stood on the brink of extinction, their mighty civilization about to be snuffed out by a cosmic horror they couldn't even properly understand, let alone fight. And here, in a forbidden sector, was a species that had evolved in partnership with the very force that was now threatening all life in the galaxy. "Prepare a first contact package," she ordered, her voice firm despite the gravity of the decision. "And alert the Council that I'm invoking Emergency Protocol Omega." Ven's crystalline form pulsed with shock. "Admiral, the quarantine protocols will mean nothing if we're all dead." Nixes cut him off. "The entity is consuming stellar energy in ways we can't counter. These humans have evolved to process stellar energy in ways we can't explain. Sometimes, the greatest threat can become the only salvation." She input her command codes, officially documenting her decision. The Federation's laws were clear. Breaking a quarantine of this level without Council approval meant sacrificing her command at best, facing execution for treason at worst. But Nixes had watched too many stars die to care about political consequences. "Plot a course for the edge of Sector 47, she ordered, "and begin analyzing all the data we have on human biology and energy manipulation. If we're going to ask these Deathworlders for help, we need to understand exactly what they're capable of." As the celestial dawn's quantum drives spun up, Nixes watched the final moments of another dying star. The stellar shade was consuming their galaxy's light, but perhaps they were about to meet a species that had made darkness itself fear the light. The ship's AI announced their departure vector, and Nixes felt the familiar shift as they prepared to jump. Behind them, the dead stars hung like a warning. Ahead lay an unknown species that might be their salvation or their doom. But they were out of options and out of time. The galaxy's light was dying, and their only hope lay with beings who had evolved to thrive in the harshest stellar conditions imaginable. As they made the jump, Nixes could only hope that humanity's reputation as dangerous stellar energy manipulators was well earned, because they were about to ask these quarantine Deathworlders to help save a galaxy that had feared them enough to lock them away. The stars blurred around them as they jumped, and Nixes whispered an ancient Arcadian prayer. "May the light guide us through darkness." They were about to find out if humans could become that light, assuming they didn't destroy what remained of the Federation in the process. Children of a harsh sun. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the control room of the Solar Dynamics Observatory, her eyes fixed on the massive display showing real-time data from Earth's star. The readings hadn't changed in the past hour, but she couldn't look away. After 15 years studying stellar energy absorption patterns in human cells, she'd never seen anything like this. Running another confirmation, her colleague Dr. James Rodriguez announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "But I'm telling you, Sarah, these numbers don't lie. Something out there is killing stars." The observatory's sensors had detected it 3 days ago, a pattern of stellar die-offs in nearby systems that defied all known astrophysical models. Stars weren't just going nova or burning out. They were being systematically drained of energy. "At least now we know why the quantum fluctuations in human cellular structure have been increasing," Sarah said, pulling up her latest research data. She dedicated her career to understanding humanity's unique relationship with stellar radiation, how human cells had evolved to process solar energy in ways that should be impossible. The facility's AI suddenly interrupted their discussion. Multiple objects detected entering lunar orbit. Configuration unknown. No match with existing databases. Sarah's heart skipped a beat as the main screen shifted to show the incoming vessels. They were beautiful in an alien way. Sleek ships that seemed to shimmer with their own internal light, their hulls covered in patterns that moved like liquid metal. "They're broadcasting," Rodriguez reported, his voice tense. "All frequencies, multiple formats. Translation algorithms are. Wait, they're already adapting to English." A voice filled the control room, feminine but clearly artificial. "People of Earth, we are representatives of the Arcadian Federation. We come seeking dialogue in the face of a crisis that threatens all life in this sector of the galaxy. Please respond." Sarah watched as military satellites moved to intercept the alien vessels, even as diplomatic channels burst into life. Humanity had prepared for this moment for generations, but all their first contact protocols seemed inadequate in the face of the actual moment. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. As one of Earth's leading experts on human energy manipulation, Sarah found herself rushed to the newly established First Contact facility in Geneva. She arrived just as the Arcadian representatives were being escorted in. The aliens were breathtaking. The one in the lead had silvery scaled skin that seemed to ripple with its own inner light, while her companion appeared to be made of living crystal. They moved with an otherworldly grace that made them seem almost ethereal. "I am Admiral Lyra Nixis," the Scaled One introduced herself, her English perfect thanks to their advanced translation technology. "This is Commander Ven. We represent the Arcadian Federation, and we need your help." What followed was a briefing that changed everything. Sarah thought she knew about humanity's place in the universe. The Arcadians showed recordings of stars being drained by what they called the stellar shade, explained how their advanced civilization was facing extinction, and revealed why they'd come to Earth. "Your species," Admiral Nixis explained, projecting a hologram of human cellular structure, "evolved under conditions we considered impossible for complex life. Your sun bombards your world with radiation that would kill most species, yet you didn't just survive. You adapted to harness that energy." Sarah stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her awe. "You're talking about the quantum absorption patterns in human cells. We've only begun to understand them ourselves." "Because you lack the context," Commander Ven interjected, his crystalline form pulsing with what might have been excitement. "Your entire species evolved to process stellar energy in ways our scientists believed impossible. Every human cell contains structures that can absorb, store, and redirect stellar radiation at the quantum level. That's why you were quarantined," Sarah realized, pieces falling into place. "Your Federation found Earth, saw what we were becoming, and decided we were too dangerous to contact." Admiral Nixis's scales shifted in what might have been embarrassment. "Our ancestors feared what beings like you might become if given access to advanced technology. Humans don't just survive stellar radiation. You thrive on it. Your cells have quantum structures that can manipulate stellar energy directly. No other known species has evolved this capability." Sarah pulled up her own research data, sharing it with the Arcadian scientists. "We've observed these patterns, especially in people living in high radiation environments. Some humans show increased energy absorption rates, enhanced cellular regeneration, even limited ability to redirect absorbed energy. We thought they were anomalies. They're evolutionary adaptations," Ven explained. "Your species evolved on a world bathed in solar radiation that would sterilize most planets. Instead of dying, you developed biological mechanisms to harness that energy. And now we need that ability," Nixis finished. "The stellar shade consumes energy in ways we can't counter. But your entire species, evolved to process stellar energy in ways we never imagined possible. You might be the only beings in the galaxy who can fight this threat." Sarah looked at her fellow scientists, seeing the same mix of fear and excitement in their eyes. Humanity had always wondered about its place in the cosmos, had prepared for both peaceful contact and hostile invasion. But this, being told they were quarantined because they'd evolved into something other species feared, only to have those same species come begging for help. "How long do we have?" she asked, already mentally calculating research protocols and test parameters. "The entity will reach your sector within one stellar cycle," Nixis replied. "We need to understand your abilities, develop ways to amplify them, and create weapons that can harness your unique energy manipulation capabilities." Sarah nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "Then we better get to work. You have the advanced technology, we have the biological capabilities. Together, we might just have a chance." As they began their collaboration, Sarah couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Humanity had been locked away because they'd evolved to master stellar energy, and now that mastery might be the key to saving the galaxy. The children of Earth's harsh sun were about to show the cosmos exactly what they could do with the power they'd been born to wield. The science of survival. Commander Jack Torres watched the energy readout climb on his neural interface as he channeled another burst of stellar radiation through the experimental Arcadian quantum matrix. The massive testing chamber aboard the Joint Research Station Helios hummed with power, its walls lined with sensors tracking every quantum fluctuation in his cellular structure. Remarkable, Commander Venn observed from behind the safety barrier, his crystalline form shifting through shades of blue and green. Your cells aren't just absorbing the energy, they're amplifying it. That's not the impressive part, Dr. Chen called from her monitoring station. Jack, show them the redirect. Torres grinned, feeling the familiar warmth build under his skin. He'd been among the first volunteers for the Joint Human Arcadian Research Program, his naturally high stellar energy absorption rates making him an ideal test subject. Now, after 3 months of intensive training, he could do things that even he had thought impossible. He raised his hand, focusing on the target drone. The absorbed energy coursed through his body's quantum pathways, structures that humans had evolved over millennia of exposure to solar radiation. The drone exploded as a concentrated burst of stellar energy struck it with pinpoint accuracy. And that, Admiral Nixis said, entering the chamber, is why we're going to win this war. The past 3 months had transformed humanity's understanding of their own capabilities. Working with Arcadian scientists, they discovered that human cellular structure contained complex quantum mechanisms for absorbing, storing, and redirecting stellar energy. What had started as an evolutionary defense against Earth's harsh radiation had developed into something far more significant. The latest simulations are ready, Dr. Chen announced, projecting a holographic model of the stellar shade's advance. The entity appeared as a web of darkness connecting dying stars. But now they understood more about its nature. It's not just consuming stellar energy, it's using that energy to evolve. Torres approached the hologram, studying the patterns he'd grown familiar with over months of analysis. The entity learns from every star it drains. Each new pattern of energy consumption is more efficient than the last, which is why conventional weapons fail, Venn added, his crystalline form pulsing with frustrated energy. It adapts to any energy signature it encounters. Except human energy manipulation, Nixis finished, because we don't just release energy, we transform it at the quantum level. The discovery had been accidental. During an early test, they'd found that stellar energy processed through human cellular structures emerged with quantum signatures that the stellar shade couldn't immediately adapt to. Something about human biology altered the fundamental nature of the energy itself. The latest prototype is ready, Dr. Chen announced, bringing up schematics for what they dubbed the Solar Lance. It was a fusion of Arcadian quantum technology and human biological processes, a weapon designed to channel and amplify humanity's unique energy manipulation capabilities. Torres studied the design with pride. He'd helped develop the neural interface that would allow human operators to direct the weapon's power with the same precision they'd evolved to handle solar radiation. How soon can we begin field tests? A priority alert cut off any response. Admiral Nixis's scales shifted to a dark silver as she read the incoming data. The stellar shade has accelerated its advance. It's already consuming the Proxima system. The chamber erupted in activity. The Proxima system was weeks ahead of their projected timeline. They'd hoped to have more time to refine their weapons, to train more human operators in the advanced techniques they'd developed. What's our deployment status? Torres asked, already moving toward the equipment bay, where the prototype solar lances were stored. We have 12 functional prototypes and 30 trained operators, Dr. Chen reported, her fingers flying over holographic controls. The joint fleet can be ready in 24 hours. Admiral Nixis's scales rippled with determination. Then we deploy in 12. We can't risk losing another core system. She turned to Torres. Commander, assemble your teams. You'll be leading the human contingent. As the others rushed to prepare, Dr. Chen caught Torres's arm. Jack, the neural interfaces haven't been tested at full combat capacity. The energy loads you'll be channeling could kill us, he finished, or could give us the edge we need against this thing. He managed to smile. Besides, humans evolved handling deadly amounts of stellar radiation. This is just taking it to the next level. The next hours passed in a blur of preparation. Human operators were fitted with the latest neural interfaces, while Arcadian engineers made final adjustments to the solar lances. The joint fleet assembled in high orbit, sleek Arcadian vessels alongside humanity's more utilitarian but robust ships. Standing on the bridge of the lead human vessel, Torres watched the crews working together with practiced efficiency. 3 months ago, they'd been separated by quarantine and fear. Now they were about to face down a cosmic horror as allies. All teams report ready. Dr. Chen's voice came over the comm. She'd insisted on joining the mission, arguing that they'd need her expertise if the prototype weapons needed adjustment in the field. The Stellar Shade has begun its attack on Proxima's primary star. Admiral Nixis announced from her flagship. All vessels, prepare for quantum jump. Remember your training. Today we find out if humanity's evolution has given us the key to saving the galaxy. Torres felt the familiar warmth of solar energy flowing through his cells as the neural interface activated. Around him, other human operators prepared for battle, their bodies humming with power that their ancestors had evolved to harness. As the fleet made the jump to Proxima, Torres reflected on the irony of their situation. Humanity had been quarantined because they'd evolved to master stellar energy in ways that frightened other species. Now that same mastery might be all that stood between the galaxy and extinction. The stars blurred around them as they jumped, and Torres whispered an old Earth prayer that seemed fitting. Let there be light. They were about to find out just how much light humanity could bring to the darkness that threatened to consume everything. The dark between stars. The Proxima star system blazed with dying light as the joint fleet emerged from quantum jump. Commander Jack Torres felt his breath catch at the sight. The system's primary star writhed like a living thing, tendrils of darkness weaving through its corona, drawing out its energy in pulsing waves. By the ancient stars, Admiral Nixis's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. It's larger than our projections. The Stellar Shade had evolved. What had once been a web of darkness between stars had become something more cohesive, more purposeful. It wrapped around Proxima's star like a vast predator, its form shifting between states of matter in ways that defied physics. All human operators, prepare for neural sync. Dr. Chen's steady voice cut through the tension. Remember your training. Let the energy flow naturally through your quantum pathways. Torres felt the familiar warmth as his neural interface activated, connecting him to the solar lance mounted on his ship's bow. Around him, other human operators reported ready status, their bodies humming with stored stellar energy. Enemy contact in 30 seconds, Ven announced from the Arcadian flagship. The entity is reacting to our presence. Torres watched in horrified fascination as portions of the stellar shade detached from the star, forming into what could only be described as attack formations. The entity had learned from every star it consumed, evolving not just its energy consumption, but its tactical capabilities. All ships, Battle Formation Delta, Admiral Nixis commanded. Human vessels in the center. Remember, conventional weapons are ineffective. Everything depends on the solar lances. The fleet moved with practiced precision, Arcadian ships forming a protective screen around their human allies. They drilled this formation countless times, but facing the actual entity made all their preparations feel inadequate. Multiple hostile contacts approaching. The tactical AI warned. Energy signatures indicate they're composed of condensed stellar matter. Here we go, Torres muttered, then louder to his team. All operators, charge solar lances. Remember, short bursts. Don't try to match its power. Use precision. The first wave of stellar fragments struck the fleet's defensive screen. Arcadian energy shields flared and died as the entity probed their defenses, learning, adapting. But the humans were ready. Torres felt the surge through his neural interface as he targeted the nearest cluster of stellar fragments. The solar lance hummed, channeling his body's natural energy manipulation abilities and amplifying them 1,000-fold. He released a burst of transformed stellar energy, watching with satisfaction as the hostile matter destabilized and dissipated. "Direct hit," Dr. Chen called out. "The entity can't adapt to the quantum signature. All operators, commence firing." The space around the fleet lit up as 12 solar lances fired in concert, each beam carrying energy that had been processed through human cellular structures. The stellar shade recoiled, its attack formations breaking apart as it encountered energy patterns it couldn't immediately absorb and analyze. But their advantage didn't last long. "New energy signatures detected," Van reported urgently. "The entity is evolving in real time." Torres saw it happening. The stellar shade was learning, adapting its structure to process the transformed energy. But something else was happening too, something in the way it moved, the patterns it formed. "Dr. Chen," he called out, "are you seeing this? The way it's reorganizing itself?" "Yes," she responded, excitement breaking through her professional tone. "Those patterns, they're quantum computing structures. The entity isn't just consuming energy, it's processing information." The revelation hit the fleet just as the stellar shade launched its counterattack. New formations emerged from the darkness, these moving with terrifying purpose. They didn't try to overwhelm the human vessel's defenses. Instead, they probed, tested, learned. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Admiral Nixus ordered as a massive tendril of dark energy swept through their formation. The entity is targeting human vessels specifically. It recognizes the threat. Torres gritted his teeth as he channeled another burst of energy through the solar lance. His shot still affected the entity, but it was adapting faster now, learning from each encounter. Around him, other operators reported similar experiences. Their weapons were becoming less effective with each passing minute. "We need more power," he realized, watching the stellar shade continue its assault on Proxima's star. "We're not just fighting a cosmic predator. We're fighting an evolving artificial intelligence that feeds on stellar energy." "Commander Torres is right." Dr. Chen's voice was tight with controlled excitement. "Look at its behavior patterns. This entity wasn't born in space. It was created. Some ancient civilization must have developed an AI that evolved beyond its constraints, learned to feed on stars for power. That's fascinating." Nixus cut in as another tendril of darkness, narrowly missed her flagship. "But how does it help us fight it?" "Because now we know what it wants," Torres answered, an idea forming. "It's not just consuming energy. It's gathering data, processing information. Each star it drains adds to its computational capacity." He watched the entity's movements with new understanding. Its attacks weren't just about destroying threats. They were experiments, tests to understand this new form of energy humanity had introduced to its calculations. "Dr. Chen," he called out, "what if we gave it more data than it could process? The quantum signatures in human energy manipulation are incredibly complex. If we hit it with enough variety at once, we could overload its ability to adapt," she finished. "But the power requirements would be enormous. We'd need every human operator to channel maximum energy simultaneously." "The neural interfaces aren't rated for that kind of load," Ven protested. "The feedback could kill the operators." Torres looked at the dying star, at the tendrils of darkness slowly consuming its light. They were running out of options and time. The entity was adapting to their weapons, learning their tactics. Soon, not even humanity's unique energy manipulation would be enough. "Admiral," he said, "decision made. I have a plan. But you're not going to like it." As he outlined his idea, Torres watched the stellar shade continue its relentless assault. They'd come seeking a battle, but they'd found something far more complex, an ancient artificial intelligence that had evolved to feed on stars themselves. Now they had to prove that human evolution could outpace even this cosmic horror's capacity to adapt. The real question was, how many of them would survive finding out? Light of new dawn. It's insane, Admiral Nixis said, her scales shifting through shades of anxious gray. You're talking about connecting every human operator directly to Proxima's star. Commander Jack Torres stood firm before the hastily assembled War Council aboard the flagship. The stellar shade is an information processing system that evolved to feed on stellar energy. We can't beat it by just hitting it harder. We need to overwhelm its ability to adapt. The math supports his theory, Dr. Chen added, projecting a complex quantum simulation. If we can channel enough varied energy signatures through human neural pathways simultaneously, we could create a cascade of quantum patterns too complex for the entity to process. And how many operators would survive this cascade? Commander Venn demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. Torres met the alien commander's gaze steadily. Unknown. But if we do nothing, everyone in this system dies anyway. The entity is already adapting to our current tactics. As if to emphasize his point, another tremor ran through the fleet as the stellar shade launched another probe of their defenses. They'd been holding it at bay for hours, but each exchange revealed more of their capabilities to the entity's ever-evolving intelligence. There's something else, Dr. Chen said quietly. We've been analyzing the entity's core structure. It's familiar. The quantum computing patterns, they're similar to human neural pathways, just vastly more complex. What are you saying? Nixis asked. I'm saying that whatever ancient civilization created this AI, they might have been studying the same stellar radiation adaptation that humans naturally evolved. The entity's basic architecture mirrors our own quantum energy processing capabilities. That's why it can't instantly adapt to our attacks. We're too similar. Torres felt a chill run down his spine. We're fighting a dark reflection of ourselves, a technological version of the same evolutionary path Earth took, which means we might be the only beings in the galaxy who can stop it, Dr. Chen concluded. But Commander Torres is right. We need more power. We need to show it something it's never seen before. Admiral Nixis' scales finally settled into a determined silver. What do you need? The next hour was a blur of preparation. The fleet reformed around Proxima's star, positioning the human vessels in a precise geometric pattern. Each solar lance was modified, its power systems recalibrated to channel unprecedented amounts of stellar energy. Neural interfaces enhanced, Dr. Chen reported from her station. But the human body was never meant to process this much power. Once we begin, there's no stopping until either we overload the entity's processing capability, or we burn out. Torres finished. He looked at his fellow operators, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes. They were about to attempt something that pushed the boundaries of human evolution itself. Fleet in position, Venn announced. The entity appears to be waiting. Torres studied the massive form of the stellar shade. It had pulled back from its attack, its dark tendrils weaving complex patterns around Proxima's star. Was it calculating, planning, or had it evolved enough to feel curiosity about what these strange beings were attempting? All operators, prepare for neural synchronization, he ordered. Remember, don't fight the energy flow. Let it move through your quantum pathways naturally. We evolved to do this. 30 seconds to solar alignment, the tactical AI announced. Torres felt the warm-up surge through his neural interface. Around him, 30 human operators prepared to channel more stellar energy than their species had ever attempted to control. The modified solar lenses hummed with potential energy. 10 seconds. He thought of Earth, of the harsh solar radiation that had shaped human evolution over millions of years. What their ancestors had developed as a survival mechanism had become humanity's greatest weapon against a cosmic threat. 5 seconds. All ships, stand by to channel power. Admiral Nixis ordered. May your gods be with you, Commander Torres. 3, 2, 1. The universe exploded into light. Torres felt stellar fire pour through his neural interface, his body's quantum pathways lighting up like supernovas. The modified solar lance amplified his natural energy manipulation abilities 1,000-fold, connecting him directly to Proxima's raging heart. Around him, other operators joined the symphony of light. Each human processed the stellar energy slightly differently, their unique quantum signatures combining into a cascade of patterns that defied prediction or analysis. Through the overwhelming sensory input, Torres saw the stellar shade react. The entity recoiled as 30 different versions of processed stellar energy struck it simultaneously. Its form writhed as it tried to adapt, to analyze, to consume. But there was too much variation, too much complexity. Energy patterns destabilizing. Dr. Chen's voice seemed to come from very far away. The entity's quantum processing matrix is approaching critical overflow. Torres could barely think through the fire in his veins. Every cell in his body sang with stellar energy, pushing the limits of what human evolution had prepared them for. Through his neural interface, he felt other operators beginning to fail, their consciousness winking out like dying stars. But those who remained pushed harder, taking up the slack, channeling even more power. They were Earth's children, born of a star that should have killed them. Instead, it had made them strong. The stellar shade's form began to break apart, its carefully evolved structure unable to handle the quantum complexity of human-processed stellar energy. As its outer layers dissipated, Torres caught glimpses of its core, patterns of pure information that had once been programmed by long-dead beings who'd tried to replicate humanity's natural abilities. "Commander," Dr. Chen's voice cut through his fading consciousness. "The entity's core is exposed, but we're losing operators too quickly. We need more power." Torres made his decision. Through the neural interface, he broadcast to the remaining operators, "Everything you've got. Show it what Earth's children can do." With their final surge of strength, the surviving humans poured all their remaining energy into their weapons. Torres felt his consciousness expanding, touching Proxima's core, becoming one with the stellar fire that had shaped his species. The stellar shade's ancient intelligence faced this ultimate expression of human evolution. Beings who had learned to dance with stellar fire rather than consumed it, and found itself unable to adapt. Its quantum matrices overloaded, its carefully evolved structures collapsed, and its consciousness scattered into the void. In the silence that followed, as emergency medical teams rushed to treat the fallen operators, Admiral Nixis stared at the space where the cosmic horror had been. "How many survived?" 17 of 30, Dr. Chen reported, her voice thick with emotion. "But they proved it. Humanity's evolutionary path, our natural ability to process stellar energy, it's more sophisticated than even an ancient AI could replicate. They'd paid a heavy price, but they'd saved more than just the Proxima system. They'd proven that natural evolution, guided by Earth's harsh conditions, had created something more remarkable than artificial advancement." As the fleet regrouped and began rescue operations, Torres drifted in and out of consciousness in the medical bay. Through his window, he could see Proxima's star burning bright and clear, no longer wrapped in darkness. They'd brought light back to the galaxy, just as their ancestors had learned to bring light into their cells. The quarantine that had kept humanity isolated was officially lifted 3 days later. The galaxy had feared them for their potential, hidden them away because of their unique evolution. Now that same gift had saved everything. As ships from Earth arrived to help rebuild the damaged systems, Dr. Chen recorded one final note in her research log. "We evolved not just to survive the stars, but to speak their language. Today, humanity proved that light will always triumph over darkness, not through force, but through the natural wisdom of evolution itself." The stars burned bright again, and humanity stepped forward to take its place among them, no longer feared, but celebrated for the very adaptations that made them unique. They were the children of a harsh sun, and they had brought its light to the darkness between stars.